Hi, this is Pablo Olivera Brizio, and you're listening to the Purple Podcast.
Thank you very much for joining me on another episode of the Purple Podcast, where we look into failure as a concept in innovation. We think failure is hugely important as part of the innovative process in corporate innovation. And joining me today, I have an esteemed guest, Pablo Olivera Brizio. I hope I've pronounced that right.
That's perfect. Yeah.
I apologize because my Australian accent. You are a senior innovator. Senior corporate innovator, I should say, technologist, inventor. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here with you, Neil, and with your audience.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so the topic of the day is failure. And what we do in this series, Pablo, is we deep dive a little bit into people's failures. We believe that you learn much more from failure than you actually do from success a lot of the
True.
time. We're bombarded with messages of, I'm so wonderful, we've done this successfully.
Yeah.
Whereas we think the real nuggets of interest and learning come from failure. And if failure is done correctly.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Yeah.
But this is where I get personal. This is where I look to deep dive a little bit. And I want to understand, in your many varied career, and we were talking before we started coming on air, you've been in region since 2005. You've been coming to the Middle East for 40 odd years. I hope that there's a story of failure, good failure in there.
There's many stories of failure. Yeah.
Well, I'd love to hear one, and maybe you can regale us with
Sure.
a story of your failure.
Yeah, there's one that I like to share. That it's very close to my heart because it has a lot of lessons and a lot of pain that I could extract some value from. Yeah? So of course, for respect and sensitivity, I will not mention names. However, I would say I was joining a new company related to the airline business in the world. Yeah. And it was a subsidiary of this airline, so it was not the airline itself. It's like working for engineering, let's say. Mm-hmm. It was not engineering, but similar. And so I joined the company. They were going through a very, very high growth, and they wanted to establish an innovation department. Yeah, so they called me to do that. I was very happy that I had this opportunity. And when I joined, I tell them, well, I mean, where should we start, right? I mean, what's your plans, or what's the ideas that we should start building things from the ground up, right? And they said, well, Pablo, we don't know. Yeah, we hire you to tell us what we should be doing. Yeah, so that's fine. So as an innovator, the first thing we need to do, or I needed to do, is understand the business. Yeah? Mm-hmm. So the best way to understand the business is to talk to people, right? So I noticed the first days I joined, everybody was very hectic, right? People running and somehow shouting and very, very nervous, So at some point I asked one of my colleagues, sorry, look, my name is Pablo. I just joined the company. What's going on? Why is everybody so? Is this normal? And they said, well, Pablo, you don't know. Well, no, I really don't know. Yeah. And they said, well, the thing is that we have fog at the airport, and we are losing millions of dollars per day, right? Because there's disruption to operations. Passengers lose the luggage, they lose the connections. Everything is a chaos. Yeah, insurance. They have to pay insurance, hotels, etc. You name it. Yeah. So I was thinking, what an interesting problem, right? What an interesting thing. I said, I just joined. They want me to do something, yeah, or to start thinking about something. Well, here I have something to start thinking about, right? And so I asked myself, what do you know, Pablo, about fog? Well, I don't know much, to be honest. I know, like everybody else, that you cannot see anything, and it's related to humidity and dew point, etc. But just the very basics, yeah? So what did I do? I said, well, if I don't know, it doesn't mean I cannot do anything. I will find somebody who knows and that can maybe help. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to understand what are the options, what can we do about it. Right? So I did some research in the internet for academic papers on climate and fog specifically. And I found a few, I think I understood 10%, to be honest, of what they say, but enough to categorize them and see which ones would be interesting to contact. So I did some social engineering in LinkedIn, found the contact of some of these doctors. And also for me, it was very important not to get somebody from US or from Europe. I wanted somebody from the region that understood the problem from within.
Yep.
Yeah. And this is what I did. I picked up the phone, and I called these doctors. I said, hello, my name is Pablo Olivera. I just joined as a senior innovation manager this company, and we're having this problem, and I believe you could help, right? Can we have a chat? Yeah. And the majority of them, I would say, were very open. And they invited me over, and we had a discussion. But I was very lucky that one of them were working already on very advanced models, not for fog, but for weather. I was able to influence them somehow to try to shift the research for something that the company was really needing, and it was important for the country as well. So they were working on models to better predict when the fog is coming.
Yep.
And in the airline business, as some of the audience might know, it's all about slots, and windows of time. If we don't catch this window, then we lose a lot of money and time, and there's this knockoff effect. So the current data that we were getting was not accurate enough to know exactly when the fog would hit.
Yep.
And it was a very sensitive topic as well, because the data was coming from official sources, and it was very sensitive. So at the same time, I was thinking of, because when you talk about fog and try to help with fog, there's two methods basically, so how to better predict when it's coming and how to disperse it physically, right? So for the dispersion, I found in my own country, I come from South America. I come from a small country called Uruguay. And I knew there was like a provost from engineering university. He had done a lot of work with fog in agriculture, right? So similar research. And I got hold of him. I told him, look, we're having this problem. Do you think your machines? He had like huge ventilators. They would suck all this,
Come and disperse my fog.
Yeah. And even he was using it in Uruguay, so kids could cross the roads, in rural areas. There's dense fog. The kids needs to cross the road. There's trucks coming. And he was helping in this regards, putting some delimited areas with this technology. So I said, well, that would be great if we can do a POC. We can test it, And then the problem is that, of course, I found this, but I could not. Innovators cannot work in a vacuum, right? They need to work with the business. So I started asking, okay, who can help with this? Who's in charge of this? And I went to a very senior person in this organization. And I really was, to be honest, in my career, I had the luck to work for the best companies in the world, right? I worked for IBM, I worked for GE, I worked for Orange, you name it, I was very lucky to work with this company. So when I was trying to explain this to this person, I felt really disrespected, because he said, oh, you cannot change Mother Nature, Pablo. This fog is something that happens. You cannot do anything about it. What you're telling me is like Star Trek teletransportation. And I said, well, it's fine. You don't understand, but please connect me, because he had the connections. He was a veteran in the company, right?
Yeah.
Please connect me with the person that I can speak to, so I can explain them, what I have so far and what I'm thinking about. No, I will not connect you because you don't have nothing. So this is what he said. So when as an innovator, when I take things very passionately, so when somebody tells me something cannot be done, it's like they put an accelerator on my my focus and what I want to accomplish. So anyway, to make the story a bit shorter, I then realized that bringing this machine from Uruguay would be very, very expensive.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, let's leave this like phase 2. I'll concentrate on the prediction method. I found the right people inside the organization that were like interested in this. I told them, look, let's do some trials. I don't know if it will help or no, but I want to try. I want to try because these people are so good that even other universities and other teams are using their studies as a reference.
Yeah.
And finally I got them to do tests, and the tests were very promising. Yeah. And at the end of 10 months, they signed a I will not say the currency, but a multi-million in the local currency agreement between this airline and this team, so they could, use their model and the massive data center where they were crunching numbers.
Yeah.
And also, as part of that deal, the airport that we are talking about didn't have a very important instrument called radiometer. Radiometer is something to measure the layers of the atmosphere, and majority of the airports they have. Yeah. This airport didn't have at the moment. So part of the deal was also to help the airport with this instrument. Yeah. And after 10 months, they signed this huge agreement, and they started using this technology. Yeah. Now, I found this company 14 days after joining the company. 14 days, right? So yeah, I got a lot of pushback, a lot of pain in the process, people disbelieving what I'm saying, not taking me seriously. But I had the support. Yep. From management, from the people that hired me. I had the support to still pursue, the path, even because I believed there was something to
push forward.
Yeah, and there was something to explore, right? And luckily, in this case, after all these failures, I would say, because saying no, not opening doors, not helping is failure. Yeah. After all this, luckily, it reached a good end. Yeah. Yeah. Happy end, I would say.
Can I ask, when you were trying to, so firstly, great that you actually got a success out of it in the end. Something that you talked about there really struck me in so far as you had pushback along the way. Were the senior leadership team aligned to what they wanted from innovation? Did they understand what?
No, yeah. They didn't understand. But part of my role was to, I think, educate them, right, of what innovation is and how it can be used. Yeah. They had a vague idea, right? So we need innovation because it's a trend, also because it can help us with the operations, but
and you need to try things, right?
Yeah. But luckily they supported me over this like difficult period, let's say, and it reached good end. Yeah.
So you identified this company within 14 days, but then there's this huge gestation of trying to get this thing up and running and off the ground.
Right.
If you could turn back time and you could look back on it and say, I wish I could do that again, what would be the things that you would kind of take as learnings from that? How would you approach it maybe differently?
It's difficult to say, but I think I would do the same things because it's, I would still, if I go back, I still will face pushbacks from the status quo, from people that say, fog cannot change. I mean, you cannot change Mother Nature. My management had, somebody that after joining, he was tackling this problem that nobody thought about because it's something we have to deal with, right? And even I was more ambitious. I wanted the dispersion method. I wanted the physical method. Yeah, and because bringing it here was very expensive. Yeah, it was it's something that didn't happen at the time. Yeah, bringing it to the location. Building the machines locally was not possible, so the machines had to be brought from Uruguay. Mm-hmm. So it was a big challenge. Yeah?
And what do you think would be the three things then that you could say to someone who's starting out on this journey? Right. I've been given this job at this amazing opportunity to lead an innovation function at a large corporate. What would those three things be? Do you think?
I think I have them very very clear, and because it's what drives me day to day, right? So one, innovators need to be catalysts. Yeah, they need to be the enablers. They need to be the ones pushing the limits, asking the hard questions. Innovators don't need to be the smartest people in the room, yeah, but they need to be able to bring teams together, to help them to brainstorm, yeah, go out of their way and bring the solution or bring the person that can help other teams. So it's a connector, yeah. This is one thing. So as the best innovators are catalysts for change and for disruption. Yeah? This is number one. The second thing is, I mean, as an innovator, you will receive a lot of pushbacks on a daily basis, right? I mean, even myself, you know, with all my years of experience, I still get challenged every day, right? And I consider it as part of my job. Yeah. Okay. So if you believe what you're doing, this is the job. I mean, you need to prove, or you need to test, and you need to do whatever needs to be done, so you add value to the organization. Right? Because if you take the easy part, oh, nobody's agreeing, so I will not do it, then you're not doing your job. Yeah. Right? And finally, as a third point, what I learned over the years is that, you know, as an innovator, you need consensus, or you need, not from the whole organization, because it's impossible, right? No, not everybody can be innovative in a company, right? But there are many people that are, or that support innovation, the champions, let's say. Yeah. So as an innovator, innovators need to identify those champions and work with them, you know, on a consistent basis, listen to their ideas, implement their ideas, work with other teams. So these are the people that will move things forward. You know, some companies have this naive version, oh, we want to be all innovative. No, we cannot be all innovative, right? Because we all have different skills. And we are wired differently. So for innovators, identify, and they are those people at all levels of the organization, from the lowest levels to the highest levels. There are people that have good ideas, want to contribute, and use them as your team to drive things forward.
Try and harness their capabilities and use that to push forward the innovation mandate.
Correct.
Okay. That has been super insightful. Next time I'm on an aeroplane and it's foggy outside, I know I'm going to be sitting there going, Pablo, I wonder what happened with that fog thing. Firstly, thank you very much for your time today. It's been super insightful. I am glad that, particularly in the airline industry, the failure ended up being a success, that you learned so much along the way, and that you were able to share that with our audience, and providing us such an engaging story along the way to think about and resonate over. So I want to thank you very much for your time today, Pablo. I know you're a busy man and you've got many things to get to, so we really appreciate you taking your time out to visit us.
Thank you, Neil, for this short conversation. I really enjoyed it, and I mean, I shared a true story from my heart. Yeah, yeah. Right. So I hope it came along that way, because it's something that really I'm passionate about. True story. I went through tough times, but eventually it got to good port, let's say.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the journey, isn't it? If everything's like easy sailing, it's not. You're probably not innovating yourself either along the way. So you need that pushback. You need to be questioned. You need to be challenged. Maybe not to the degree that you had. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.